The rain hammers against the glass facade of the Meridian Tower like bullets against armor. Inside the gleaming lobby, Marcus Chen, 32, adjusts his tie with trembling fingers. His reflection in the polished marble floor shows a man on the edge of desperation. 3 months unemployed, eviction notice in his pocket, and this job interview at Blackstone Industries is his last hope. The elevator doors slide open with a whisper that sounds almost like a warning. Marcus steps inside, pressing the button for the 14th floor where his interview awaits. The numbers climb steadily, 10, 11, 12, and then something impossible happens. The elevator shudders to a halt, and the display shows 13. Marcus stares at the glowing number, his heart hammering against his ribs. He studied this building's blueprints obsessively, preparing for today. The Meridian Tower has 47 floors, but like most high-rises, it skips the 13th floor entirely. Superstition built into steel and concrete, yet here he stands, watching as the doors slide open to reveal a corridor that shouldn't exist. The hallway stretches before him, bathed in flickering fluorescent light that casts dancing shadows on walls that seem to breathe with a life of their own. The air that flows into the elevator carries the scent of fresh paint mixed with something else, something organic and wrong. Marcus reaches for the close button, but his finger hovers over it as curiosity wars with common sense. The walls of the corridor appear to be in various stages of completion. Some sections gleam with fresh drywall and pristine paint, while others expose raw concrete and twisted metal that looks almost like veins. The carpet beneath his feet as he steps forward is plush and new in some areas, worn and stained in others, as if time itself moves differently here. A sound echoes from somewhere deeper in the corridor, a rhythmic tapping like fingers drumming against glass. Marcus calls out hello, but his voice seems to be absorbed by the walls themselves, creating no echo, no response. The fluorescent lights above flicker in a pattern that almost resembles Morse code, and for a moment, he swears he can hear whispers coming from inside the walls. His phone shows no signal, the screen flickering between full bars and complete dead zones, as if the building itself is interfering with the connection. As Marcus ventures deeper into the impossible floor, he notices doors lining both sides of the corridor. Some are marked with standard office numbers, others bear no markings at all, and a few display symbols he doesn't recognize, geometric patterns that seem to shift when he's not looking directly at them. Behind one door, he hears the sound of typing, rapid and urgent, as if someone is working against an impossible deadline. Behind another, the soft murmur of a conversation in a language that doesn't sound quite human. The first office he peers into appears to be a standard corporate workspace, complete with desks, computers, and filing cabinets. But the computers display screens full of text that scrolls too quickly to read, and the filing cabinets are labeled with dates that haven't happened yet. A coffee cup sits on one desk, still steaming as if someone just stepped away. Marcus calls out again, but receives no answer. The chair behind the desk is still spinning slowly, as if recently vacated. Moving to the next office, Marcus discovers a room that defies all logic. The space appears to extend far beyond what should be possible given the building's dimensions. Rows of identical desks stretch into a hazy distance, each occupied by a figure hunched over paperwork. But as Marcus squints to get a better look, he realizes the figures aren't quite right. They move with mechanical precision, their heads never lifting from their work, their hands moving in perfect synchronization. When he tries to approach them, they seem to recede further into the impossible distance. The temperature in the corridor begins to fluctuate wildly. One moment Marcus is sweating in oppressive heat, the next he's shivering as his breath forms clouds in the suddenly frigid air. The walls around him continue their subtle breathing motion, expanding and contracting as if the building itself has developed lungs. Paint peels and reapplies itself in real time, creating patterns that hurt to look at directly. The carpet beneath his feet shifts from new to ancient to non-existent, leaving him walking on bare concrete that's warm to the touch. A door at the end of the corridor stands slightly ajar, golden light spilling from within. As Marcus approaches, he can hear music, something classical and beautiful that seems to emanate from the walls themselves rather than any visible source. The nameplate on the door reads Executive Suite in letters that seem to be carved from shadow. Marcus pushes the door open and steps inside to find an office that belongs in a completely different building, perhaps a different century altogether. The executive office is a study in contradictions. Ancient wooden furniture sits alongside cutting-edge technology that he doesn't recognize. Books line the shelves, their titles written in languages both familiar and impossible. Behind an enormous oak desk sits a figure in an expensive suit, their face hidden in shadow despite the bright light filling the room. The figure gestures to a chair across from the desk, and Marcus finds himself sitting without consciously deciding to do so. "You're early for your interview," the figure says, their voice carrying an accent that seems to shift between regions and centuries. Or perhaps you're exactly on time. Time works differently here on the 13th floor. Marcus tries to speak, to ask questions, to demand explanations, but finds his voice caught in his throat. The figure continues, "We've been watching you, Marcus Chen. Your desperation, your determination, your willingness to step into places where others fear to tread. These are valuable qualities in our organization." The walls of the office display what appears to be Marcus's entire life history projected in moving images. His childhood, his education, his failed relationships, his mounting debts, all playing out simultaneously in a dizzying array of scenes. "Everyone who finds their way to the 13th floor is here for a reason," the figure explains. "Some come seeking power, others knowledge. Still others simply stumble upon us in moments of desperation. But once you're here, once you've seen what exists between the cracks of reality, there's no going back unchanged." Marcus finally finds his voice, demanding to know what this place is, who the figure is, and how he can leave. The figure laughs, a sound like wind chimes made of broken glass. "This floor exists in the spaces between intention and reality. Every building has one, though most people are too anchored to the mundane to ever find it. As for leaving, well, that depends entirely on what you're willing to sacrifice to return to your ordinary life." The figure slides a contract across the desk, the paper seeming to be made of something that isn't quite paper, inscribed with text that shifts between languages as Marcus tries to read it. "A simple employment agreement," the figure explains. "Work for us and all your problems disappear. Your debts, your loneliness, your fear of failure, all of it erased. In return, you help us maintain the balance between what is and what could be." Marcus stares at the contract, the words seeming to writhe on the page like living things. He can make out phrases here and there: eternal employment, reality maintenance, soul-binding agreement. The pen the figure offers him feels warm to the touch, almost alive, and when Marcus holds it, he can hear whispers promising him everything he's ever wanted. The interview he was supposed to attend on the 14th floor seems like a distant memory, a small and insignificant thing compared to the cosmic opportunity before him. But something in the back of Marcus's mind rebels against the seductive promises. He thinks of his sister, his few remaining friends, the simple human connections that make life meaningful despite its struggles. What happened to the other people who signed this contract? He asks, gesturing toward the impossible office space beyond the door. The figure's smile widens, revealing teeth that are too sharp and too numerous. They found exactly what they were looking for. Purpose, security, belonging. They're all still here, working diligently, contributing to something far greater than themselves. Marcus stands abruptly, the chair scraping against the floor with a sound like fingernails on chalkboard. "I need to think about this," he says, backing toward the door. The figure's expression doesn't change, but the shadows around them seem to deepen. "Of course," they say pleasantly. "Take all the time you need. But remember, Marcus, the 13th floor doesn't appear for everyone. This opportunity may not come again." As Marcus reaches for the door handle, the office begins to change around him. The walls stretch upward, the ceiling disappearing into darkness. The furniture multiplies and divides, creating a maze of desks and filing cabinets that extends in all directions. The figure behind the desk watches impassively as Marcus struggles to find his way back to the corridor. "The building responds to intention," the figure calls out, their voice echoing from everywhere and nowhere. "If you truly wish to leave, you need only want it more than you want what we're offering." Marcus closes his eyes and focuses on the life he left behind in the elevator. His cramped apartment, his dwindling bank account, his uncertain future, all of it suddenly precious in its ordinariness. When he opens his eyes, he's standing in the corridor again, but it's changed. The walls are closing in, the ceiling lowering, the fluorescent lights flickering more urgently. The breathing motion of the walls has become more pronounced. as if the building is experiencing some kind of distress. The doors along the corridor have multiplied, creating an endless series of choices and possibilities. Behind each door, Marcus can hear sounds that represent different aspects of human existence. Laughter, crying, arguing, celebrating, all of it muffled and distant. Some doors are warm to the touch, others cold enough to burn his fingers. The nameplates shift and change as he watches, displaying names of people he's never met, companies that don't exist, positions that sound too good to be true. One door bears his own name, and when Marcus opens it, he finds a perfect replica of his apartment, but improved in every way. The furniture is new and expensive, the refrigerator is full of gourmet food, and bank statements scattered on the table show a balance with more zeros than he's ever dreamed of. A version of himself sits at the computer, typing contentedly, looking healthier and happier than Marcus has felt in years. This other Marcus looks up and smiles. "You could stay," he says. "This could be your life. No more struggling, no more uncertainty." Marcus slams the door shut and runs down the corridor, but it seems to stretch infinitely in both directions. The elevator is nowhere to be seen and panic begins to set in. The whispers from within the walls are getting louder, more insistent, speaking in voices he almost recognizes. His mother's voice tells him he's always been a disappointment. His ex-girlfriend's voice reminds him that he'll never be good enough for anyone. His own voice, distorted and cruel, lists every failure and weakness he's ever possessed. The carpet beneath his feet begins to give way, revealing not the concrete structure of a building, but something organic and pulsing. The walls are definitely breathing now, expanding and contracting with a rhythm that doesn't match any human heartbeat. The fluorescent lights have been replaced by a bioluminescent glow that seems to emanate from the walls themselves. Marcus realizes that the 13th floor isn't just a place between floors, it's a place between states of being, a liminal space where reality becomes negotiable. A new sound joins the cacophony around him, the ding of an elevator arriving. Marcus runs toward the sound, following the corridor as it twists and turns through impossible geometries. The walls are covered now with what looks like neural networks, pulsing with electrical activity that corresponds to his own thoughts and emotions. When he feels fear, the networks flash red. When he experiences hope, they glow with golden light. The elevator doors stand open, but the car inside is not the same one he arrived in. This elevator is larger, its walls lined with mirrors that reflect not his appearance but his thoughts and memories. Marcus steps inside anyway, desperate to escape the breathing, living corridor. The button panel shows not floor numbers, but symbols representing different aspects of human experience. Love, fear, ambition, despair, hope, all arranged in a pattern that seems to shift based on which one he's focusing on. Marcus presses the symbol for hope, and the elevator begins to move, but not up or down. It moves sideways, backwards, through dimensions that don't have names. Through the mirrors, he can see other versions of the corridor, other people who have found their way to the 13th floor. Some are signing contracts with shadow figures. Others are running through endless mazes of doors. Still others have simply stopped moving, standing motionless as the building grows around them like a living thing. The elevator stops, and the doors open to reveal not a floor, but a vast space filled with floating islands of reality. Each island represents a different choice, a different path his life could have taken. On one island, he's a successful businessman in a corner office. On another, he's a struggling artist living in a studio apartment but creating beautiful work. On a third, he's never left his hometown, married to his high school sweetheart, living a quiet life of simple contentment. A bridge of light extends from the elevator to the nearest island, and Marcus realizes he's being offered a choice. He could step onto any of these islands and live that life, but he would never be able to return to his original reality. The figure from the executive office appears beside him, no longer hidden in shadow. Their face is human, but somehow more than human, beautiful and terrible in equal measure. "This is what we offer," the figure explains. "Not just a job, but the ability to choose your reality. The 13th floor exists at the intersection of all possibilities. From here, you can step into any life you can imagine. The only price is that you can never go back to the uncertainty and struggle of your original existence." Marcus stares at the floating islands, each one representing a life without the pain and uncertainty he's known. But as he watches, he notices that the people on these islands, these other versions of himself, All share one characteristic. Their eyes are empty, lacking the spark of genuine experience. They're living perfect lives, but they're not really living at all. They're existing in a state of perpetual contentment that feels more like death than life. What about growth? Marcus asks. What about the possibility of becoming something more than what I am now through my own choices and efforts? The figure's expression doesn't change, but something flickers in their two perfect eyes. Growth requires uncertainty, they admit. Change requires the possibility of failure. What we offer is security, certainty, perfection. These are incompatible with the chaos of genuine existence. Marcus steps back from the bridge of light, and as he does, the floating islands begin to fade. The elevator doors start to close, but before they can shut completely, Marcus makes his choice. He lunges forward, not toward any of the islands, but into the empty space between them. As he falls, he hears the figure's voice calling after him, no longer beautiful but terrible in its alien disappointment. The fall seems to last forever, but Marcus isn't afraid. He's chosen uncertainty over security, struggle over perfection, reality over fantasy. The 13th floor dissolves around him, the breathing walls and impossible geometries fading like a half-remembered dream. He falls through layers of reality, past the lives he could have lived, past the choices he didn't make, toward the messy, uncertain, beautiful reality of his actual existence. Marcus opens his eyes to find himself standing in the elevator, his hand still hovering over the close button. The display shows 12, climbing toward 14. The 13th floor is gone, if it ever existed at all. But in his pocket, he finds something that wasn't there before. A business card made of material that shifts between paper and shadow. The text reads simply, "The offer stands. When you're ready to choose certainty over chaos, press 13. The elevator doors open on the 14th floor, and Marcus steps out to face his interview. But something has changed. The desperation that drove him here has been replaced by a quiet confidence. He's seen what lies beyond the veil of ordinary reality, and he's chosen to remain on this side of it. The interview goes well, better than he expected. The position isn't perfect. The salary isn't what he dreamed of, but it's real, it's his, and it comes with the possibility of growth and change. Months later, Marcus works in an office on the 23rd floor of the Meridian Tower. He's successful, not through supernatural intervention, but through his own efforts and the opportunities that come from embracing uncertainty. Sometimes late at night when he's working alone, he hears the whispers from within the walls. Sometimes the elevator stops at floors that shouldn't exist. But Marcus never gets off. He's learned that the most profound magic lies not in escaping reality, but in fully embracing it. The business card remains in his wallet, a reminder of the choice he made. On particularly difficult days, when bills pile up or relationships fail or the future seems uncertain, he takes it out and reads the shifting text. The temptation is always there, the promise of a perfect life without struggle or pain. But Marcus has learned something the figure on the 13th floor couldn't understand. It's the struggle that makes life worth living, the uncertainty that makes choices meaningful, the possibility of failure that makes success sweet. Other employees in the building sometimes report strange experiences. Elevators that stop at floors that don't exist, corridors that seem to breathe, offices that extend beyond the building's dimensions. Most dismiss these as stress-induced hallucinations or tricks of light and shadow, but Marcus knows better. The 13th floor is always there, waiting for those desperate enough or curious enough to step off when the elevator stops at an impossible number. The building continues to stand, a monument to human ambition and architectural achievement. But between its floors, in the spaces where blueprints show only empty air, other realities wait. The Meridian Tower is more than steel and glass and concrete. It's a gateway, a threshold, a place where the possible and the actual meet and dance their eternal dance. And on the 13th floor that doesn't exist, figures in expensive suits continue to offer contracts to those who stumble upon them in moments of desperation. Marcus has become something of an urban legend among the building's employees. They call him the man who visited the 13th floor and came back unchanged, though those who know him well can see that he's profoundly different. He moves with the confidence of someone who has seen beyond the veil of ordinary reality and chosen to remain human. He helps new employees navigate the building's quirks, always with a warning about elevators that stop at floors that shouldn't exist. The rain still hammers against the glass facade of the Meridian Tower, but now Marcus sees it differently. Each drop is a choice, a moment of impact that creates ripples in the pond of reality. The building around him pulses with hidden life, but he's no longer afraid of it. He's part of it now, a conscious participant in the dance between what is and what could be. And in his wallet, the business card waits, a reminder that the choice between certainty and chaos is one that must be made again and again, every day, in every moment of a life fully lived. The 13th floor exists in every building, in every life, in every moment when reality becomes negotiable. It's the space between heartbeats, the pause between thoughts, the moment when anything becomes possible. But Marcus Chen learned something that the shadows and whispers couldn't teach. The greatest magic isn't in escaping the human condition, but in embracing it completely, with all its uncertainty, struggle, and infinite possibility for growth and change and genuine connection with others who have made the same choice to remain beautifully, terrifyingly, wonderfully human, fade to black. The end. This psychological thriller script explores themes of choice, reality, and the human condition through the metaphor of an impossible floor in an ordinary building. The story uses the hook of supernatural mystery to examine deeper questions about what makes life meaningful, whether security is worth sacrificing growth, and how our choices define not just our circumstances but our very humanity. The narrative maintains engagement through escalating supernatural elements while grounding the story in relatable human emotions and experiences, ultimately delivering a message about the value of embracing uncertainty and struggle as essential components of a life worth living.